Well, hello there, membershippers. You're listening to the Membership Geeks podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morrison, chief geek around these parts. I want to thank you so much for listening to the show. If you're new to the podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to ensure that you do not miss a single dose of proven practical tips and advice on growing your membership. And if you're a long-term listener, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for all the time and attention and the ongoing support you give the show. I truly hope it's valuable and useful and you've been able to take some of the advice we share and use it to fuel your membership growth. If you enjoy the show, if you got value from it, I would so appreciate if you would take a moment to leave a nice shiny 5-star review just to let me know we're doing a good job and also to share how the show has helped you. Not only does that help me to know that I'm really making a difference with the podcast, which after all is the whole point of this, but also the more reviews we have, the more people we can reach, the more of a difference we can make in the membership world. All right, today is a very, very special episode. At the time of release, over in the US, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Here in the UK, we're in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Week because apparently we need less time in the UK to be aware of mental health. But for whatever reason, bringing awareness to some of the mental health challenges that many, if not most of us, suffer with, and certainly I've struggled with over the years, is a positive thing. And so today, I want to dip into the archives of the Membership Geeks podcast. We've been running since 2015. We've been publishing 420 episodes as of today, and there's a lot of gold in the archives digging into the past episodes. Most of what we do here, we do not chase trends, we do not jump on bandwagons. The content we put out, the advice we give, the practices we share, they are best practices. They are evergreen. The stuff we put out in 2015, which is still valid in 2025. And so back in 2019, episode 229, I released an episode about how to fall back in love with your membership. And I thought today would be a good time to bring that one out of the archives, to get it back to you for those of you who weren't listening 6 years ago, and to share my insights and advice on how really to re-spark and re-motivate yourself. If you found that you're falling out of love with your membership, if you're finding yourself a little dissatisfied, a little disconnected, if you're finding your membership's feeling like more of a burden, it's more of a slog, and you're just not able to find that enthusiasm, that love and that passion that you once had for your membership, this is something where the rot can really set in and you can start to see your mental health being affected as your motivation goes down, as your purpose, as your reason, as the satisfaction you get from your membership, the fulfillment is declining. That will affect your mental health. And so if you found yourself falling out of love with your membership, getting things back on track, kicking yourself up the butt, reigniting that passion, that love and that interest is something that is vital to do, not just for making sure that the membership is on the right tracks, but for you personally, looking after your health, looking after your head. So without any further ado, we're going to travel back in time to 2019 to episode 229, How to Fall in Love with Your Membership Business. Here we go.
Now, we always talk about memberships being a marathon, about the importance of having a long-term mindset when it comes to starting up a membership site. And the reason we talk about that is because memberships are all about the long term. It's a big commitment when you start a membership, and so your interest level, your passion, and your enthusiasm for your topic, as well as for the idea of turning up day in, day out, creating content, teaching this subject, answering questions about it, and so on, that is a huge, huge commitment. You've got to love what you do, and you've got to love the idea of running a membership for years and years to come. We always kind of say to people, the acid test is to think 1 year down the line, 5 years down the line, if your job, if literally all you did day in, day out was talk about this topic, create content, answer questions in a community, and so on, does that sound like heaven or does it sound like hell? Usually, that's a good enough acid test to tell people whether or not they have that long-term sustainable interest, passion, and love for the subject and the love and commitment level for teaching it through a membership to actually make it within this particular market. But what happens if you are a year or so into your membership, or maybe even longer, and that enthusiasm has started to wane. You've found yourself falling out of love with your membership. What do? This is definitely something that can happen. We might have had all the enthusiasm in the world when we first started off our memberships, but once the reality of what it takes day to day, month to month, year to year to make a membership successful actually kicks in, then that can change things. So if you found yourself feeling this way and you're trying to find a way of falling back in love with your membership, of reigniting that interest and that passion, I think first and foremost, we need to think long and hard about what the actual problem is. Do you just have a general feeling of dissatisfaction, of disinterest, of a lack of enthusiasm? Or can you actually pinpoint something specific that is the root of the problem? Do you actually love 90% of it, but actually the 10% might be the content creation side? It might be dealing with a minority of difficult members. Can you put your finger on something really, really specific? And you might actually need to take some time to step back, look at the big picture of everything you're doing, to remove yourself from that day-to-day running of the show in order to actually figure out what is the root cause, what is the problem, what is the thing that is making running a membership unenjoyable or has changed it? And also, is this a temporary thing? Are you just kind of falling out of love with it because maybe you've got some other project that's going on that's unrelated to your membership, that's cutting into the time you'd normally have to run your membership business, and as a result, that time is more stressful? You need that bigger picture assessment of what is going on. If you can single out a specific aspect, a specific influencing factor, then it's most likely going to be a lot easier for you to actually tackle that problem, make it a non-issue, and then focus on the stuff that you do enjoy. But if you can't find an obvious cause, think about what's been going on recently. What other circumstances might have changed? Was there a particular turning point? When was it that you noticed that you were getting bored, becoming jaded, getting burned out, losing your enthusiasm? There must have been a point where you became cognizant, you became conscious of that. When was that point? What was going on that triggered that realization? Sometimes just thinking about it is enough. Just thinking about it helps you to process, helps you to clear your mind, and to reaffirm your purpose. And sometimes it will help you identify a root issue that maybe you hadn't realized was causing such a big problem, so you can then deal with it. But what if there isn't something specific? What if it's just a general loss of enthusiasm? Well, the first thing that you can look to do is try to book your routine. Do something different. If you're not doing live training in your membership, do some live training. Do some Q&A sessions, run a challenge, something you don't usually do. So you're changing things up in terms of your day-to-day routine when it comes to the membership. And you can maybe try out doing something where you get to interact with your members in a way you might not already be doing. So you get to reconnect with the actual people that you're serving in your membership. And again, just by changing up and refreshing the routine that may have started to feel a little boring, may have started to feel like you're going through the motions, just a little bit of a shake-up can be all that you need. Consider looking into ways in which you can do other activities that stoke your interest in the topic that is at the heart of your membership. Again, when you make that commitment to become a membership site owner, you're making a commitment to essentially change your relationship with the subject area, with the market, with the audience. You take on the role of membership owner, of educator, community leader. If you can change that up and re-engage with your subject matter in a different way, maybe you can become a student again, take some classes, get together with some peers to talk shop, go to a conference or an event if you've never actually been to one or you haven't been in a long time. Get out there and do something else that enables you to re-engage with the subject of your membership without it having to be in the context of you being a community leader, a teacher, a membership owner. Something like that can help you get back to basics without the pressure and expectation that comes from having members to serve. So let's say you have a music membership. Maybe you could join a band or organize a casual jam session with a few buddies. Maybe you can decide that you want to learn a new style of music just for the hell of it, not so that you can do a course, not so that you can do a training or anything like that, but just so you can re-engage and reconnect with your interest in the topic without that interest having to be connected to your business of running a membership within this market. If you have a business membership, so a B2B membership, then for you, maybe that means going to a conference overseas for the very first time, getting offline and spending a week just catching up on some reading books around your topic, organizing a little peer masterminding session where you're not the host, you're not the leader. You get to reconnect with the world in which you operate on a day-to-day basis, but in a totally different context. Again, that can just give a little bit of a refresh or a little bit of a mental clear out and enable you to get back to the core of the thing that you love, the thing that no doubt drove your passion for starting a membership site. Most people don't start membership sites because they're really, really enthusiastic about membership sites as a business model. They start because they're really passionate about a topic that they have knowledge, experience, and expertise in. And they really love the idea of being able to teach people the things that they know, of being able to build a community of like-minded people. So if you can get back to that and reconnect with what is at the root of your passion, then that can go a long way to helping you to fall back in love with your membership. It can spark new ideas. It can get the creative juices flowing. And it's worth doing anyway, especially if you take steps to kind of become a student again almost, because that helps you to better empathize with the people in your community and better understand, because, you know, sometimes we take things for granted, especially things that we maybe learned long ago or experienced long ago. Maybe we don't realize things might have changed for our students and the people in our community. So again, just taking that different approach, reconnecting with your subject matter can go a long way for helping you fall back in love with your membership. And actually, it might just be that you simply need to take a break. Maybe you're just getting a bit burned out, overworked, a little overstressed. It's okay to take time away from your membership. In fact, I'd say it's important to take time away. Everyone should make a point of taking a break from your membership every now and then. And that's the beauty of a membership. You don't need to be there 24/7 in order for you to be serving your community, in order for your members to be getting value, learning, making progress. I talk a lot about this back in episode 76. So that was a long, long time ago now on the show. If you head to themembershipguys.com/76, then you'll be able to listen to that episode where I discuss at length why every single membership site owner needs to make sure that they are taking a good amount of time away from their membership. Getting away from things, taking a break, just disconnecting from the responsibilities of running a membership, even just for a few days, that could be all it takes to free up your bandwidth, to give you a bit of clarity, to give you the rest that you need in order to come back at things reinvigorated and get over a little bit of a mental slump. Something we find that really helps to motivate us and to keep us going, particularly, if we've been inundated with stuff, if we're starting to get a little bit burned out, and certainly if you've been listening to the show recently when we talked about the whole process of planning out our very first conference, we definitely got very, very burned out, especially in the weeks just leading up to the conference. Something that helps in times like this is to have what we call a happy folder. So this is literally, it is what it sounds. It is a folder that is in our shared Dropbox, so both myself and Callie have access to it. And we take screenshots of every bit of positive feedback, every nice email, every social media comment, testimonial, posts inside our community where members have shared their wins and the results that they've been able to achieve on the back of being an Academy member. Anything that makes us happy, proud, that reminds us of why we're doing this, we grab a screenshot. That even includes screenshots of certain financial milestones. I think the first time we had 6 figures sitting in the business bank account, that was screenshotted because it was a big milestone for the membership. Screenshots when you hit certain member numbers as well, or when you get below a certain churn rate. Again, anything that makes you proud, anything which reaffirms why you are doing this. We put all this stuff into a Dropbox folder, and then anytime we need a little pick-me-up, we have this. It's like a shot in the arm to remind us of all the positives associated with our membership. So anytime we're feeling a little burned out, we're feeling a little bit meh, we can spend a few minutes looking through our happy folder. Again, it's just that little bit of a kick up the backside that can help stop you from going down a rabbit hole where you start getting more and more jaded, you start getting more disconnected with your membership. It works wonders, I promise you. It's such a simple, straightforward thing to do. Something else that can make a real difference is actually spending time with our members, actually connecting with them in person. If possible, and it's not always going to be possible for every membership owner or every type of membership, but if you can, try and organize some offline member meetups where you get some of your members to come together and have some drinks, maybe have some food, like informal. Doesn't need to be a really formal thing, doesn't need to be a huge event. If you're going to conferences, or if you're traveling, or if you're going to be anywhere where there's likely to be a small pocket of your members, then organize a little get together. Even if there's only 5 or 6 of those people can come, these are your people. And sometimes just connecting with your people and meeting with them can reinvigorate you. The energy and the buzz that comes from being in the room with your members can go such a long way to, again, reaffirming why you're doing this and remind you of the difference that you're making. And if you can't do this offline, maybe do a virtual version. Have a little virtual hangout session using something like Zoom to get people together on a call in a totally informal setting. Doesn't need to be a Q&A, doesn't need to be a training, doesn't need to have anything business related about it. Just a casual hangout. Hey guys, I'm going to be on the Zoom call from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm ordering pizza. So if you want to come and hang out with me and just chat about what's been going on and, just hang out virtually, then come and do it. You could maybe encourage everyone else who wants to come along to order a pizza for themselves. So you're almost having a virtual pizza party. Or if you're feeling a little flush, you could splash the cash and order pizza for your members who are coming. Yeah, you want to come and hang out, we're having a virtual pizza party. Let me know if you're coming. Shoot me your address. I'll make sure you've got a pizza so you can join the fun. Something fun, something different, where you can just spend time connecting with your people. That can really turn the tide if you've fallen a little bit out of love with your membership. Such a good reminder of who you're doing this for and the difference that you're making. Reconnecting with your members or just connecting with them for the first time, anytime you can, is always a good thing. If you're starting to flag a little bit, if you're starting to get a little bit jaded, a little bit tired of running a membership. So much of this really comes down to revisiting and reaffirming your why. That is something that's really, really important. Why did you start your membership in the first place? What was your motivation? Who were you looking to help? What was the difference that you wanted to make? What were you doing beforehand in your life or in your business? And why did you want to get away from that? Have any of those motivations changed? Have you found that the dream and the reality are too far apart? Is there anything you can do about that? Usually that's not the issue. Usually it's just losing sight of why we're doing this. Losing sight of what we were hoping to achieve, and maybe taking for granted some of the positive changes that have happened in your life as a result of starting a membership site. So again, sometimes you just need to have that reminder. Much of this comes from just taking the time to step away from things, step back from things, and actually put some deep thought into this. Get into a reflective place where you're thinking about the big picture rather than getting bogged down with the day-to-day minutiae of running a business. And actually, it's not a bad idea to have something visual that is this reminder, that has that constant presence to help you reaffirm your why. Have something on your desk, on your office wall, that gives you the little nudge and reminds you of your why every now and then. Some people use vision boards to motivate them towards their goals. Why not do something similar, but with the purpose of reminding you why you're doing this in the first place, to motivate you to stay the course when you find yourself falling a little bit out of love with your membership. And again, a lot of the things we've talked about, connecting with your members in person, doing hangouts and meetups wherever you can, re-engaging with your topic in some sort of different setting or some sort of different context where you don't have the pressure of having to show up as a leader, as a teacher. You can just go back to having fun with the subject, having fun with the world in which you also happen to organize a membership. So hopefully some of what we're talking about has given you some ideas, some food for thought, a little bit of a kick up the backside. If you've started to feel what we're talking about here, you've started to feel like you're falling out of love with your membership. Hopefully, if you can try some of the things that we discussed, it'll help you snap out of that and get back on track. Because it is so important that you enjoy what you're doing, that you're passionate, that you're enthusiastic about what you're doing, because that will actually communicate down, that drips down to your members. If you're phoning it in, if you're disinterested, if you're resentful of the fact that, I have to answer some stuff in the community today, I've got to create this course, then that mindset is reflected in the way in which you show up. So anything you can do to reinvigorate yourself and to ignite that spark that maybe has started to die out a little bit is very, very much worth doing.
All right, that is it for our little trip into the vault. I hope you got a lot of value. I hope if you didn't catch that episode first time round or you've not listened to it on a little binge of past episodes, I hope this has given you some fresh perspective, some ideas, some motivation, and a little bit of a spark to really reconnect with your membership and to get things back on track. Because as I said in the intro, this sort of stuff can start detrimentally affecting your mental health, your day-to-day. And when that happens, man, that can be a hard thing to pull out of. So in honor of and to mark Mental Health Awareness Week, Mental Health Awareness Day, I thought this was a really good episode to bring back to your attention. Hopefully you found it useful. Even if you've heard it before, hopefully these have been good reminders and have pointed you towards how you can really re-engage, reconnect, and re-love your membership business. All right, that is it from me for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Look after yourself, look after your health, look after your head, and I'll be back again very soon with another episode of the Membership Geeks podcast. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Membership Geeks podcast, we invite you to check out membershipacademy.com. Membership Academy is the original membership about memberships, and it's the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a successful online membership business. Whether you're still trying to figure out what your idea is going to be and you need some help making it a reality, or whether your website is already up and running and you're looking for ways to grow and attract new members, then Membership Academy can help you to get to the next level. Not only do you get access to our step-by-step membership roadmap, our extensive training library, and exclusive member-only discount and tools, you'll also become part of our supportive, active community of membership owners that will help you along the way in your journey with feedback, encouragement, and advice. All of this and more make Membership Academy the #1 place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow a successful membership business. Check it out and join the community at membershipacademy.com.